Dear Board of Trustees, my name is Emmy Thielander. I'm an adjunct assistant professor at both Ostos and Hunter colleges. I've been working at Ostos since the fall of 2017, and since the fall of 2018 have been a member of the union and have been receiving health insurance. My job at CUNY is my job. I am an artist, so I work part-time. When I lose a class, that's a quarter to a third of my income for the season. And thus, if you do the math, that's about 20% of my income for the year. So that in regular times means my income is quite vulnerable. During the pandemic, of course, this has been upended further. I've been lucky in some ways. I've been able to maintain a minimum of 2 classes per semester, so I haven't lost my health insurance. And when I needed it, I was able to get unemployment to cover the classes I did lose because of the pandemic. Now we're in a different stage where the administration is pushing hard for in-person classes, which really did seem like the right thing to do last summer, and still does ultimately. Although the mistake that I see that the administration is making is to use a blanket set of understood needs for the CUNY community, teaching it to different CUNY schools with much different student populations. I understand that the same requirements for Hunter students do not work for Ostos students. I have struggled and put a lot of effort to making my Ostos and Hunter classes work in whatever the circumstances are. I've been sort of first in line for in-person teaching or online teaching. I just know that my livelihood depends on me being flexible and doing whatever the university asks me to do. So what I am asking in response is a nugget of respect and flexibility for staff and faculty that have been really keeping the school together during this pandemic.
Hi, my name is Dan Liberts. I'm an assistant professor of English and associate director of first year writing at Brewer College. So I want to talk about 3 things. First is low enrollments. Compared to the fall, many CUNY colleges are informally reporting low enrollment, which is leading to a lot of lost jobs for adjuncts. So delaying in-person instruction until March may help with this for students who feel more comfortable online while the Omicron surge remains in place. Next, anticipated absences and withdrawals. So for instance, in August of 2021, the 7-day average of daily new cases per 100,000 was 25. Today, it is 268. That is way more, obviously, than August, and it leads to concerns for a lot of people. So students will likely get sick. Students will have family members who get sick, and we'll have to take care of them or pick up more hours for working or both. This will lead to more absences, more withdrawals, and more burnout from students and faculty trying to make the best of their learning situation. So, are these conditions most conducive to learning compared to going remote until March? I don't think so. Students, faculty, everyone will feel more comfortable, and there will be more class attendance and more ways to figure things out. Undue stress on faculty. Faculty have time and time again been very flexible to assist students and to assist CUNY. We have done this for almost 3 years. It's just too much at this point. Many faculty themselves, many I know, have immunity issues and are really stressed about returning to campus. Many faculty have children who cannot be vaccinated, like my children cannot be vaccinated, and are stressed about returning to campus. Omicron being mild still has led to serious issues, especially to vulnerable populations like the unvaccinated, especially those who cannot be vaccinated, like children, many children, and for people with immune issues, people who are recovering, cancer survivors taking immune suppressing drugs, and so on. Why not honor the sacrifice of faculty and students and everyone who have these concerns and just wait a month, let Omicron subside, which it will. It hasn't yet subsided, just to save everyone so much stress and increase the. We're all going to learn much better without that stress. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, trustees. My name is Elizabeth Stevenson. I am a HEO at the City Tech campus. I am recording this message to strongly urge you to mandate vaccination for all CUNY staff. I currently work in an office with staff members whose vaccination status is unknown to me, and that does not make me feel safe in the office. I'm required to work there at least 50% of the time, starting 70% of the time at the end of February. And that means that I go to an office and potentially sit with unvaccinated people for 8 hours a day, multiple days a week. That's unacceptable, and I would like you to change that policy.
Hi, my name is Dorian Ben Coyle. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. I wanted to speak with you because I wanted to say that I believe that in view of this current situation with COVID, that community safety is important and that the spring term launch in person should be postponed, at least for the first couple of weeks of the term. Giving that window allows us to have a measured open and also to protect people, to have non-essential staff be allowed to teach remotely, protect students, protects teachers, protects other staff. I've had a couple of students tell me that they were concerned, one of whom has a small baby at home who's not able to be vaccinated, another of whom has an elderly relative. I have a spouse who is a very, very elderly parent and does not want me to be exposed. I personally would rather not be exposed. And the unsurety of the situation means that some students just may forego class altogether. And I don't think that's fair to them. I don't think it's fair to the other students if we end up having to cancel the classes. I would say that it'd be more fair to those students to continue class. For me personally, I'm an adjunct. The amount I'm paid by Baruch, frankly, is not the main issue, but I know that for some people, being able to earn those funds is, and so I would also recommend not canceling classes based upon a lack of enrollment. There are funds from federal and I believe state government that can help offset that, and there are many who teach who need and use the income. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Again, Dorian Ben Coyle. I teach in the CIS department at Baruch, and I hope you will strongly consider postponing the requirement for having in-person classes the first 2 weeks of the spring semester.
Oh, yes. I'm an adjunct in the math department of York College, and it happens every spring. The enrollment is kind of very low, and it looks like this year, for some reason, I don't see many numbers in many classes. So I would request the administration to run as many classes as possible, even if the enrollment is low, and they use the stimulus money so that people like us who depend on the adjunct employment to make a living can continue to work in this pandemic situation. It's not our fault that the enrollment is low. I don't know what your college administration is doing. It never happened before, but somehow the attendance for some reason is very low. I really don't understand, okay? There's something needs to be done about it. And that's why I would really appreciate that the administration tries to run as many classes as possible, even if the enrollment is low, and they do something about increasing the enrollment. Thank you. My name is Raj Gupta. I'm an adjunct lecturer in the mathematics department of your college. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ingrid Gordon. I teach music at LaGuardia Community College, and I echo most of the demands of the union except for one crucial thing. I believe we should get students back to campus for in-person classes as soon as possible. I do not agree with the 2-week pause that has been proposed on in-person learning, and I also don't agree with the proposal to offer more hybrid classes. I really strongly believe that we need to return to in-person learning as soon as possible. I am really personally over online learning, and I'm triple vaxxed. I am more than satisfied with the health protocols that are in place on campus. I wear my N95 mask. I'm comfortable coming in. I am currently teaching a class of 9 students that was allowed to run when in the past it would have required 30 students to run. And it has been an absolute pleasure teaching a smaller class. I'm getting to know all of my students personally. We're able to have real discussions. I'm able to help students more effectively who are falling through the cracks. So I would say, if anything, I'm in favor of smaller class sizes, but I believe we should return to campus as soon as possible and put an end to online learning. Thank you.
My name is Julian Abbott. I'm an adjunct at York College. COVID-19 has created an unprecedented crisis at CUNY. Rather than being a source of our failings, however, it has merely shone a light on them and exacerbated an already bad situation. CUNY's devotion to the outdated 1990s business model of higher education has come at great cost. For CUNY, students represent an entry in a revenue column of a financial statement. This revenue is derived from tuition, from grants such as PAL, and from government budget allocations. Instructors, the overwhelming majority of whom are unpaid, exploited, and often abused adjuncts, appear in the cost column. CUNY's goal is to maximise revenue and minimise costs. That is, their prime concern is to squeeze as many students into each class while paying instructors as little as possible. Faculty, on the other hand, are concerned with teaching, learning, and research. Traditionally, public education existed to capture those passed over by private institutions. The working class, minorities, migrants, and women and other underserved communities got the chance to rise to the middle class via education. With 75% of faculty at full time, this goal was achievable. Now, aside from small, statistically whitewashing elite programs such as the Macaulay Honours, teaching and learning are incidental. With 25 students in each class, teaching those who suffered from compound disadvantage before the pandemic is challenging. CUNY must do better. The high school system has sent unprepared college students our way for decades, is now in disarray with truancy at record highs and learning at unprecedented lows. A financial document circulating at York identifies the number 10.1 as the cut-even number for class sizes in regard to adjunct pay. Let us take this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of coronavirus funding to give students and instructors a chance to succeed. Capping classes at 12 to 15 students would allow adjuncts to do what they long to do, be effective teachers. If CUNY did cut class sizes despite low enrolment, maintain adjunct employment and track the results, it could be a model for the whole country. Not to mention actually living up to its social justice mandate and helping the city get back on its feet. If it doesn't, we face the prospect of a lost generation of New Yorkers who will never make up for the failure of learning the pandemic compounded. Students want an education to prepare them for the 21st century global workforce. To get it, they must become more than a revenue stream, and they need instructors who are well paid, job secure, and who feel safe enough to take a breath and follow their passion for teaching and learning. Thank you.
My name is Susan Fountain. I'm an adjunct professor at the School of Professional Studies and a coordinator of the PSC's Health and Safety Watchdogs. CUNY has repeatedly failed to meet its obligations to provide a place of employment which is free from recognized hazards under Article 39 of the PSC CUNY contract. Ventilation audits conducted over the summer did not provide the detailed room-by-room data needed to ensure that faculty, staff, and students were not being placed at risk. College administrations have fought efforts by the PSC to obtain basic health and safety information. Surveillance testing was started late, and data on the dashboard is unreliable. Contact tracing has been poorly handled. Masking, social distancing requirements have not been enforced. It is no wonder that so many employees lack confidence that their health and safety is a priority for CUNY. And now, in the face of Omicron, CUNY has dropped all metrics that should have triggered a full return to remote work. These metrics were carefully developed by campus health and safety committees and were part of every campus reopening plan. Now they are gone. Apparently, there's no amount of community transmission that would cause CUNY to return to remote work. This is a chilling development, given that there is no guarantee that another COVID variant is not just around the corner. Instead, CUNY has arbitrarily decided that there should be a 70% return to in-person work by the end of February. Allowing individuals to make more flexible arrangements between now and the end of February means that the ability to work safely from home is applied unequally across CUNY employees. Keep in mind that the risk to those employees do not only come from being on campus. There are also risks, possibly even greater ones, with the use of public transportation to get to and from campus. Students are voting with their feet for spring 2022. Enrollments are down at many colleges, especially the community colleges. Students are signing up for online courses rather than in-person ones. The PSC demands that in-person classes with low enrollments not be dropped. CUNY must keep its commitment to the students and to the faculty, who are largely low-paid adjuncts who will teach these courses. I ask you to take seriously the health and safety of the entire community of CUNY faculty, staff, and students. Allowing greater flexibility for remote work will help protect CUNY's financial health and, more importantly, the physical health of employees and students alike. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a first-year assistant professor at Baruch College, and I'm scheduled to teach in person for the spring 2022 semester. I would like to make two requests from the Board of Trustees. The first is that CUNY continue providing accommodations for faculty to teach online if they have immunocompromised individuals or unvaccinated children at home. And the second, that CUNY provide either KN or N95 masks to all faculty, staff, and students who will be in person. I believe it's important for CUNY to allow faculty to teach in the modality that they believe will best protect their health and the health of their family. For those of us who either have immunocompromised individuals or unvaccinated children like myself, it's important that we protect those most vulnerable in our families and our community. We do not know the long-term effects of COVID in children, and as someone who has an unvaccinated infant at home, I'm afraid that teaching in person will expose me to the virus. Breakthrough cases have increased, so being vaccinated is not enough anymore. The CDC, WHO, and other medical professionals and experts have shared that either KN or N95 masks provide the best protection during this latest wave of the Omicron variant. CUNY believes that their policy for 70% in-person instruction is what's best for students' education. If they want to best support that policy, then they need to provide us with safe instruction, which means wearing KN or N95 masks, which CUNY needs to provide to all staff, faculty, and students who will be on campus.
Hello, my name is Lynn Turner. I am the PSC Chapter Chair at the Graduate Center and a member of the Union Executive Council. Safety must be CUNY's first priority amid the Omicron spike. During the first 2 weeks of the semester, non-essential work and teaching should be done remotely. One size fits all will not work. To ensure safety on campus throughout the semester, CUNY campuses should provide high-quality masks, including N95s, KN95s, and KF94s, rapid test kits, necessary ventilation, and flexible remote work options. Moreover, and specifically, do not cancel under-enrolled spring semester classes. You can use federal stimulus funds to offset lost revenue and allow for small classes, which are better for our students anyway. This is what our talented, hardworking adjunct faculty deserve. This is what our students deserve. This is what students, faculty, staff, and CUNY communities require of a people's CUNY. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Rivera. I'm an adjunct assistant professor at City College and at City Tech. I teach in media communication arts and communication design. I'm an advertising professional turned professor who is earning not a lot of money because I want to give back to the students of CUNY. So I'm here to ask you to consider making the first 2 weeks of the spring semester remote, because while Omicron infection rates are going down, we don't want to make this a super spreader event when students go back to school. Let's wait a couple weeks, make it remote, see how things go, then go back in person. I can't wait to get back on campus, but I want to do so safely. Also, please consider not canceling classes that might be a bit under-enrolled. We need to do what we can to make sure that the students who are already in the CUNY system have a timely path to graduation. Cutting classes that they need to make that happen would be a mistake. Thanks so much for your consideration.
My name is Julia Schneiderman. I'm a health education and public health professor at BMCC, and I'm recording this testimony for the Board of Trustees meeting. In the fall of last year, I was teaching most of my classes in person on campus, even though at that time the capacity was only about 25% of people on campus. I still noticed a lot of absences from students, a lot of people either getting sick or having trouble coming in for whatever reason, family emergencies and so on. Students also complained about misunderstandings in terms of coming to campus. They didn't know where to go get testing and so on. So I wanted to urge us at CUNY to consider better communication and earlier communication with students. In terms of public health measures, I do believe that having the first 2 weeks remote will help with having fewer cases of COVID on campus, and of course in our students' communities and the communities of our faculty and staff where they live. The sooner we can communicate this to students, faculty, and staff, the easier it'll be for them to be able to make plans for the classes. The more we will have better understanding for students. And I think this will open up room for us to have a better in-person rest of the semester. Other colleges around New York City are doing this measure, and that is the first safety measure that I think should be considered. Other things we should consider on campuses is providing better masks for everyone. Recent research has shown that when both parties are wearing N95 or equivalent masks, they can stay together longer with much less risk of infection. So we should consider distributing free masks to everyone who comes to campus. We should ramp up our testing capabilities, including rapid tests when they're necessary. And of course, we should mandate vaccination for everyone who comes to campus, faculty, staff, and students. And I urge the Board of Trustees to start the process of that negotiation with the union and everybody involved. I think we can have a safe in-person semester if we take some of these measures. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cindy Bink, and I am the HEO chapter chair, the PSC's HEO chapter chair for about 5,000 administrators throughout the university. I represent people in the offices of counseling, academic advisement, bursar, registrar, accounts receivable, everywhere. And I want to speak today about remote work, about mask mandates, vaccine requirements, starting remote classes in the beginning of the semester, and not canceling classes. First of all, remote work for HEOs has been an adventure. Many of us have learned to work from home. We're coming onto campuses, some of us, but most of us are coming onto empty campuses now, and we shouldn't be. We're following a mandate from the chancellor that says we need to be back 50% of our time, and in February, end of February, coming back 7 out of 10 days. This makes little sense, first of all, if students aren't here, but second of all, students are wanting our services remotely, and we should be thinking about making our positions remote positions if they can be. That's a decision between a supervisor and employee, not a chancellor, and really not a president. Presidents are not being flexible either, for the most part. The other thing is that we need masks and N95 masks. The CDC is recommending N95 masks. So these need to be bought in large quantities and freely distributed to the employees. We should not also be in offices where we're not sure people sitting next to us are vaccinated. If faculty and staff are being told they have to be vaccinated for their safety, our safety, we need to be vaccinated too. Please don't cancel classes. Students are demanding more online classes. If you look at enrollment, the online classes are fully booked. Doesn't mean it's going to be forever, but right now they want to be online. And if classes are being canceled, the in-person classes are being canceled, open them up to being virtual like we did and have done over the last 2 years. That's what I wanted to say. Please think about the fact that supervisors can make these decisions with their employees. Protect the people at home that are vulnerable. Don't have us respond to a mandate that doesn't understand the management issues for each office. It's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Shawn Roberts. I'm an associate professor and the director of undergraduate studies in the Department of English at Queen's College. I don't see any scenario in which this coming semester can proceed safely with the current limited provisions in place. The Omicron wave may be peaking, but we are far from in the clear, and I am very worried for the health and safety of myself, my family, and my students when I return to the classroom in a little over a week. Make no mistake, I want to go back to in-person teaching. The last 2 years of online instruction have left me and my students and my colleagues exhausted and depleted and scarred, and I cannot stomach the thought of another one. The last 2 years has been a catalogue of traumas. In my capacity as Director of Undergraduate Studies, I've talked with students who have been dealing with every degree of affliction, up to and including suicides, domestic violence, crippling financial insecurity, and the grief of losing family, friends, and caregivers. And in one particularly tragic case, which I will never forget, a young woman who was unable in the early months of the pandemic to retrieve the body of her mother to give it the funeral rites mandated by her faith. In the fall semester, students dropped out or just disappeared from classes at rates that I have never seen before. For this reason, I do believe that our students need to be back in the classroom, as much for the sakes of their education as their mental health and in some cases personal safety, but it must be done safely to avoid further harm. To this end, we need a universal vaccine mandate for all CUNY workers, not just faculty and students. A vaccine mandate for some is meaningless in a crowded environment like a densely populated urban college. We need medical-grade masks and free tests available to anyone who needs them. Please do not cancel under-enrolled courses or fire contingent faculty. Use federal stimulus money for that, to cover any shortfalls. That is what it's there for. Please prioritize additional social services, financial assistance, tuition relief, and counseling for our students. And finally, please make the first few weeks of the semester online to ensure a smooth transition back to in-person teaching and to give us a bit more distance from the Omicron wave. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophia Opikar. I'm an associate professor of urban studies at the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies, and I'm also a rank and file member of the Professional Staff Congress. Our city is suffering from tremendously high COVID rates right now. It makes no sense to push ahead with 70% in-person instruction mandate or the 50% in-person work for staff while the rates are so high. As a professor, I actually deeply appreciate the in-person classroom and the learning opportunities it provides. I prefer it. But with the rates of COVID just so high, it's statistically inevitable that on the first day of class, there will be a COVID positive person, contagious person sitting in my classroom. And we will sit there thinking about how we might get sick, we might get our loved ones sick, we might get our coworkers and community members sick. Is that an environment where we can focus on learning? Is that an environment where we can reap all the benefits of in-person learning? It's certainly not. And what's worse, pushing to go in person communicates to our students and communities that CUNY does not prioritize health and safety of people of color, working class people, who are already the most affected by the pandemic. The best thing is to start remotely, at least 2 weeks of the spring semester, and then reassess the COVID situation at that time. I'm a professor. I've been talking about students and classes, but it's very important to know that CUNY staff should be given flexibility to work remotely. It's infuriating for me to see my staff colleagues like advisors in Zoom meetings, and they're working on campus, sitting in cubicles, shared space, breathing shared air, taking the train and bus to get there, and all they're doing is Zoom meetings and computer work that they could do at home. When it does become safe for us to go back to campus in person, I urge you to follow the lead of dozens and dozens of universities across the US that require everyone on campus to wear high quality masks like N95, KN94, KF94, because according to studies, including a recent one done by University of Minnesota researchers, it takes about 20 minutes before a person with a cloth mask, a fabric mask, can be infected by another person not wearing a mask. That time jumps to 2.5 hours for those properly wearing an N95 mask or similar mask. That should be our new standard, and surgical masks are just not enough. To our students already struggling with housing instability and food insecurity, the cost of these masks are significant. So CUNY should use the federal relief money to provide these masks at no cost. The university can buy them in bulk, significant discount. Providing high quality masks communicates care and support in a concrete way. Start the semester in a remote mode, give staff flexibility to work remotely, and mandate and provide high quality masks for all of us. Thank you.
I'm here to testify before the CUNY Board of Trustees. My name is Brian Prager. I teach at the City University and have taught here for 35 years, since 1987. My concerns are these. We've got to protect our university from being destroyed by canceling courses, driving students out of their own courses, driving away teachers who rely on the university to pay the bills, for health insurance, and for our lives and livelihoods and our professions and our mission in life. The mission of the university is not impaired by teaching remotely. Therefore, teaching remotely needs to remain an option which should be planned for and executed and put in place as the way to begin a semester during a resurgence of pandemic illness right now. It is clear that the City University is not doing enough to provide access to medical grade masks, to not even requiring vaccinations for staff, which puts everyone at risk and prolongs the pandemic. We know this. Everyone knows this. There's no reason why rapid tests and requiring negative tests should not be a requirement for students and teachers in order to enter the buildings. But most of all, we must urge you to keep the budget, which the federal government has already backed up with an enormous amount of stimulus funds, and to keep people on staff, to keep classes going, to keep students moving through their degrees, and to keep your teaching faculty alive and able to live. Unless you want to see homeless teaching faculty and homeless students multiply even more, you've got to step up. And now's the time. The City University should be fully funding health care measures, health prevention measures, and keeping the courses and the university full of students actively involved in moving their education forward. To contemplate cuts and austerity measures now is criminal. Do your job and do what's right for the City of University. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Trey Wu Lee. I am a mathematics professor at BMCC. I want to talk about class enrollment and 2 weeks of transition period. My understanding is that CUNY surveyed students back in time about what they wanted, and they indicated they want in-person classes. However, the enrollment data is showing entirely something opposite. Why is that? I think the mistake was to confuse what students wanted eventually when the situation is ready and what they are willing to do at this particular point in time. Through enrollment, students are telling us what they are willing to take at this time. All faculty and students want to go back to normal as much as possible. I want to go back to in-person classes where I can meet my students and teach them in person. However, there is a difference between what I want eventually and what I am willing to take right now. I am concerned whether we are ready at this specific point, and I think students have concerns too. The right thing to do would be to follow students' lead and offer more online classes and keep classes open even with small enrollment numbers. Do not cancel under-enrolled spring semester classes. You can use federal stimulus funds to offset the expense of lost revenue. We are dealing with new situations here, and we don't know when this will end. Measuring class enrollment with pre-pandemic metric would be wrong and not fair to students, especially when we don't know when all this will end. And since students are clearly sending us signs that they are still worried about coming back at this point, it would be prudent to make the first 2 weeks of spring semester a transition period where most non-essential work and teaching is done remotely. We can rethink our plan once the hospital situation gets better. Thank you for listening.
Who is Sonia A. Rai? I am a technology coordinator within the Division of ITR serving Lehman College in the Bronx. During the 2 years of the pandemic, my job responsibilities have evolved into mostly remote, supportive, and informative requests. I read emails from customers, answer repair software or technical questions, procure assets, manage labs remotely, advise faculty regarding IT best practices, participate in student technology fee, and offer consultations to assist with problem solving. I am a proponent of empowering faculty to be digitally literate, technically independent, and adept at solving simple or intermediate technical problems. I also firmly believe the knowledge and expertise acquired from implementing remote services or support must be maintained as a part of a digitally dexterous future. What we really need are more flexibility and remote options, not less. That means more flexible scheduling, expanding or accommodating remote work agreements, protecting employees who live with vulnerable family members, provisions of PPE including medical-grade masks, proper ventilation systems, not canceling low enrollment classes by using stimulus funding, open-mindedness, open communications, and conflict resolution expeditions. I live with my 93-year-old mother. Working remotely enables me to protect her from COVID and be a productive professional. On the right, you see a picture of Mom, and on the left, you see a picture of my humble home office. SARS-CoV-2 does not discriminate who it infects, but infection is only a part of the whole story. Certain groups are disproportionately affected by COVID-19, and this includes women. That is why it is vital for general accommodations to be given to those who take care of special needs or vulnerable people like myself. Thank you for listening. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with identifying the destination. We need choices, flexibility, and a safe environment.